Hello, and welcome to this garbage video that I made. Anyways, so today I'm going to be talking about something that I feel is important to me when it comes to gaming. Yes, I'm talking about non-linearity. When we talk about non-linearity, we mean that a game doesn't follow a straight or linear path. In other words, you don't have to play a game in the right order and fashion like the devs want you to, but instead have a bit more freedom on how you want to approach the game and complete missions using your creativity that you have in your gamer brain to craft a great gaming experience. So why is non-linearity important? Well, for one thing, it makes the game more interesting. Now, that's not saying that games that take on a more linear path is terrible. I mean, of course not. There are plenty of great games that took this linear path and you're just cruising on through. But with non-linearity, you're constantly making choices however you want it that affect the game's outcome. You're in control. And that's what makes it so much fun. Now, I'd like to start this video about let's start this video talking about non-linear gameplay. And I'd like to give some examples that I think are cool, wacky, awesome, fun times, and also to showcase you just how creative you can get with these games. First off, Grand Theft Auto 3. So, there's a mission in this game, I think it's called Farewell Chunky Lee Chong, where you have to kill this guy, and when you run to him, he starts to get in his car and then chase him down and then kill him, and then, yeah, he's dead. But after someone on the internet got frustrated with the mission, they had the idea to steal the guy's car before beginning the mission, take it to 8 Ball Autos, which is the shop where you can rig cars with bombs, and rig the guy's car with a bomb, put the car back in, put the car back in the same spot, then initiate the chase, and basically just watch the guy blow up when he tries to get away. How fucking cool is that? And it wasn't Rockstar telling the player to do that exact thing, but more so the player, and I think it's a great example of freedom to do whatever you want in a 3D sandbox game. Another example from Rockstar that I think is cool is found in GTA 4, where there's this mission, side mission, where you're given a text on your phone with a description of a car you're supposed to steal, along with this address. It's not like random. So anyway, the cool thing about this is that it doesn't show any icon on your map or a waypoint on your radar telling you where to go, and then you actually have to study the names of the roads in the city to find that car and then steal it. It's really cool. It's really cool, isn't it? Like, you actually feel like a badass doing it. And the thing about the side mission I talked about is that the in-game map doesn't show the street name, so you either have to Google the map for the game, or if you have the physical copy of the map, then you can just read it from there and complete the mission. And it's so damn cool. It's nice that Rockstar included these these little maps and stuff. It's not only cool collector's edition, for your collection, add to your shelf or something. It's also really useful too for in a mission, and allowing players to solve things more creatively is a great way to get the player not only engaged in the game world, but also engaged in the mechanics and features the game has to offer. But sadly, after GTA 3, Rockstar went with a more sort of linear approach with their missions, and having a more scripted movie-like experience where the player has to, do this exact thing that they're told to do, or else they fail the mission. And this isn't a bad thing. This isn't entirely a bad thing, because there are linear missions in Rockstar games when they're great when it works. But Rockstar constantly flip-flops between the open world being more loosey-goosey, relaxed, where the player is open to solving things more creatively, and then the missions which just destroys all that and boil down to following a yellow line. And if you don't do just that one thing that Rockstar wants you to do, then congrats, Broco, you failed the fucking mission. It's so weird. Another great way I can explain Rockstar's open world game design is with Legos. One being the Lego bucket, filled with tons and tons of Legos, being the example of player choice and freedom, allowing players to craft their own experience while exploring the open world and potentially do some creative problem solving with little restrictions using the gameplay systems that the game has to offer. And then you have the Lego set and the manual, being a more linear design where the player has to follow a predetermined order. And yeah, and also if you heard of this analogy before, then congratulations, you are absolutely based, and I'm also sorry for taking that analogy. Please don't sue me. Anyway, what baffles me with like Rockstar's game design is that mixing the loosey-goosey open world with the scripted movie-like missions, it just doesn't work. I can't even do like one thing in the game without getting mission failed plastered in my goddamn face a dozen times. Shit like taking a different route to flank the enemy, well, you can't do that. And even attempting to be slightly creative with my approach in a fucking stealth mission, can't have that either. And that's not saying that all of the missions are bad, because like I said, there are some linear missions in the game that are genuinely thrilling when it works. But of course I'm not gonna make this entire video be about Rockstar, because there's already a video like that. And yes, I could not forget games like Hitman, the Dishonored games, Deathloop, and of course, the snakiest of snakes in Metal Gear Solid 3. Because holy shit, the amount of things you can do in that game is wild. Games like these is like the developers handing out the canvas and letting the players create a masterpiece with their games. Like, seriously, if you've seen this YouTube channel called Stealth Gamer BR, like their videos on YouTube, especially with the Dishonored ones, you'd be just blown away on how creative you can get if the devs let the player go wild with the freedom they have towards approaching their games. I like to start, talking about more examples and stuff, and this might go on spoiler territory, but whatever. So, Hitman. Spoilers, by the way, if you care about that shit. Now, Hitman, you can either go in guns blazing, like killing everyone, and the target you're aiming for, because I've done that before, or go quietly, timing everything perfectly, with or without killing anyone, and also get that perfect score if you care about that too. Or literally let the world kill the target for you, like having others do the work for you. Like, for example, in one of the missions set in Japan, there's this guy that found out that the patient he's trying to save, which happens to be your target, murdered his dad, and decides to take matters into his own hands by turning off the operation and killing him in the process. And of course you have to put in a bit of your work before letting that other person do it. But still, it's a great example of freedom when it comes to approaching a game. And I like that stuff. There are plenty of other things to do in that game, by the way. I highly recommend that you get the Hitman games. They are fucking fantastic. Moving on. Metal Gear Solid 3. Got a classic example where you can literally kill the final boss of the game early on, or you can put the game off for a week from what I remember, and then come back in the game to find that you killed the final boss through old age without having to fight him. That's so goddamn cool. And of course you can dick around with it, PS2's internal clock to skip the tedious process of having to wait an actual week to achieve the damn thing. But still, I swear, whenever I boot the game, I always find something new, either hilarious, like knocking yourself out by waving your handkerchief around too much, or making Snake vomit by spinning him around in the menu, or something that's actually cool, like feeding poisoned food to the guards and knocking them to the ground, or cheesing boss fights in creative ways, or equipping certain things to make a cutscene and radio call play out differently. I fucking love this game for just how much stuff it has and how the player can deal with it. Another great example, I recommend that you play Metal Gear Solid 3. And if you already played MGS3, That's perfect. It is just a masterpiece. You know, I haven't really seen modern mainstream games nowadays having endless freedom to approach the game like the aforementioned Hitman or Metal Gear Solid 3. And I feel like more indie games nowadays are really the only ones doing this sort of thing. Like for example, this game I found called Weird West, made by the people that used to work for Arcane Studios, the people behind games like Dishonored, Prey, and Deathloop, which are all fantastic games, by the way. You should give them a try. And it's pretty apparent when you boot up Weird West and seeing the art style along with the amount of depth and decisions when it comes to the game's story and also the ways you can play the game. This game is so cool. Like, you don't just play as one single character and go on from there, but you have like 5 characters to play in total, and each of them like have their own like arcs, and some intertwine with one another, and you can make decisions that affect how the game plays out. Hell, some characters could be holding in dark secrets or some other stuff, and you have the option to dig deeper or not, and if you decide to call them out or not, can affect how they react to you like in the long run. But honestly, I'll save this topic for later when I get to the non-linear storytelling part, which I'll probably make a video about. Probably. That's a game you should definitely check out as well, called Weird West. Yeah. In short, like, my point with this video is that, non-linearity is really cool, and I hope that more games nowadays have this sort of freedom. Yeah. Just the amount of things you can do in a free, like, sandbox game world, it's pretty awesome. Of course, there are still some great non-linear games out there. Linear games. Linear games. You have shit like Uncharted, Portal, fucking Inside, whatever the hell. Yeah, those are all great games. You should play them. I think that's all. Yeah. Talking about non-linearity. Maybe one day I'll get to make a video talking about non-linear storytelling or whatever the fuck. Yo, glad you made it this far. I'm surprised you even got this far. Yeah, that's all for this video. Hope you find it somewhat enjoyable. I put hours into editing it. Sometimes I like to slack off when editing, but that I do work sometimes. If you find it enjoyable, that's cool. If you don't find it enjoyable, that's cool. People don't like things and people like things. That's just how the world works. Anyway, that's not the point of this outro. Anyway, so yeah, originally there was going to be, the video was going to be not like a part. It's originally going to be stitched together. Non-linear gameplay and non-linear storytelling, but since I really don't have any materials for non-linear storytelling, I really just went with non-linear gameplay and stick with that. So if you have any like ideas, like topics I want to talk about, like what games should I, what game I should mention in that non-linear storytelling, feel free to leave it in the comments, or you could go to my business email, which is in the about section, and put it there, and I might consider, I might credit you for putting in that idea. So yeah, that's all. Thank you for watching, and as always, social media is in my description or the about section. Stuff like Patreon, like Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. I have a server if you want to join. Do so by clicking the link down below, link in bio. That's all. If you don't want to join the server, that's fine. If you don't want to donate to my Patreon, that's fine. I'm not forcing you to do any of those stuff. That's all. Goodbye and have a lovely day. Drive home carefully if you're in a car. Pull over if you're tired. And peace out.